I never thought I'd stand in a Manhattan courtroom, staring down the two people who flushed me down the drain like yesterday's trash, only to fish me back out when my bank account started looking like a lottery win. But there they were, my biological parents, Harold and Vivian Hargrove, grinning like hyenas in cheap suits, demanding half my tech empire because, get this, abandoning me at a fire station wasn't intentional enough to cut them out of the will they never knew existed. And the real gut punch? I'd spent my whole life paying for their sins, covering up a murder they pinned on me before I could even walk. It started with a yellowed Polaroid tucked in my adoption file, the one the social worker slipped me on my 18th birthday like it was a get-out-of-jail-free card. Me, tiny and swaddled, eyes squeezed shut against the flash, with a note scribbled on the back. Forgive us. HM. No address, no explanation, just a ghost story to haunt my dreams. I burned it that night in my crappy Queen studio, watching the flames curl the edges, thinking, good riddance to bad DNA. Little did I know, forgiveness wasn't on the menu. Revenge? That was the main course, simmering for decades. By 35, I'd clawed my way from foster homes to founding Alarisoft, a cybersecurity firm that locked down half the Fortune 500's dirty secrets. Billions in the bank, a penthouse overlooking Central Park, and a life that screamed, I made it without you. But success has a way of digging up graves. One rainy Tuesday, a process server banged on my door with papers that read like a bad soap opera. Hargrove versus Eleanor Voss. That's me. Adopted name, Voss, from some long-dead uncle. They claimed I'd been kidnapped as a baby, not abandoned, and under some obscure New York statute on parental restitution, they were entitled to 49% of my assets. Kidnapped? By who? The stork. Turns out, their story was that a rival family snatched me during a custody battle they invented whole cloth.
Savage, right?
But the controversy? The judge let it go to trial because DNA don't lie, and neither did the lab results proving they were mine. The bailiff's voice boomed like thunder in that wood-paneled tomb of justice, all rise, and I felt my knees lock as if they'd been zip-tied. Federal Court, Southern District of New York, where dreams go to get shredded and billionaires get humbled. I smoothed my pencil skirt, the one I'd picked because it was armor in gray wool, and glanced at my lawyer, Marcus Hale. He was ex-FBI, built like a linebacker who'd traded his badge for billable hours, and his whisper was gravel. Remember, Ellie, ice, not fire. Let them melt down first. Across the aisle, Harold and Vivian sat like vultures on a wire. Dad, Harold, had that gaunt, hangdog look of a man who'd peaked in the 80s, selling used cars in Jersey before the bottom fell out. Salt and pepper hair slicked back with too much gel, tie askew like he'd tied it drunk. Mom, Vivian, clung to his arm, her peroxide bobdo looking fried from too many mall salon visits, lips painted fire engine red to match the outrage in her eyes. They weren't alone. Their attorney, slick as oil Perry Langford, lounged beside them, flipping through files with the casual menace of a card shark. Langford was infamous. Tabloids called him the family butcher for carving up estates in divorce courts. How they afforded him? That was question one on my revenge bingo card. Judge Elena Vasquez entered, a no-nonsense Latina in her 50s, with a stare that could curdle milk. She banged the gavel, and the room exhaled. We're here on Hargrove versus Voss. Counsel, your openings. Langford rose first, buttoning his Armani like it was a weapon. Your Honor, this isn't about money. It's about justice for a family torn apart by lies. His voice dripped Southern drawl, fake as his tan, playing to the jury of working stiffs from Brooklyn and the Bronx who'd eat up the underdog tale. He painted me as the villain, cold-hearted heiress hoarding fortunes while her real folks scraped by on Social Security. Eleanor Voss was stolen from her cradle in a brazen act of revenge by the Voss family. Yes, her adoptive name is no coincidence. Harold and Vivian fought tooth and nail to get her back, but the system failed them. Now, after 35 years, DNA has reunited them. And what does their daughter do? Slams the door. We're asking for what's rightfully theirs. Restitution for lost time, lost love, lost legacy. Lost love? I bit my cheek to keep from laughing. The jury shifted, Two blue-collar guys in flannel nodded sympathetically. A young black woman in scrubs crossed her arms, skeptical. Langford projected a photo. Me at the firehouse doorstep, timestamped October 15th, 1990, the day I entered the world screaming into a cardboard box. This wasn't abandonment, Your Honor. This was desperation. A young couple, hounded by threats, forced to hide their miracle to protect her. Marcus stood next, his baritone steady as bedrock. Ladies and gentlemen, this case isn't about family, it's about fraud. The plaintiffs left a newborn on a doorstep with a note begging forgiveness. No police report, no missing persons filing, nothing but a ghost story conjured for cash. Ms. Voss built a Larasoft from nothing, securing America's data while these relatives watched Netflix in subsidized housing. They're not seeking reunion. They're seeking a payday. And we'll prove it. The first witness was Vivian. She took the stand like a martyr to the stake, dabbing at dry eyes with a tissue that cost more than her outfit. Langford fed her lines. Tell us about that night, Viv. The fear. The love. Her voice quavered, theatrical. We were so young, Harry and me, just 22, married a year. Working double shifts at the diner, saving for a crib.
Then.
The Vosses. They hated us. My sister, Lydia, she'd run off with their boy, Tommy Voss, years before. Got pregnant, but it wasn't his. When Tommy found out, he beat her black and blue. She lost the baby, but the Vosses blamed us for poisoning their bloodline. Said we'd pay. The jury leaned in. A middle-aged accountant type scribbled notes. Vivian spun it. The Vosses as mafioso light, threatening arson on their trailer if they didn't. Vanish the shame. So they did, drove through the night to that fire station in the Bronx, left me with a note, and fled to Philly under assumed names. We searched for years, she sobbed. Private eyes, flyers, nothing. Until her face popped up in Forbes. Our baby, a billionaire, and she won't even take our call. I gripped the table, nails digging crescents into palm. Lies, all of it. The real story? I'd pieced it together over years, hiring PIs of my own after that Polaroid ignited the fuse. Lydia Voss, my adoptive aunt, was no victim. She'd been the town tramp in their upstate podunk, sleeping around for kicks, and when she OD'd on pills in '89, the Hargroves pinned it on Voss family harassment. But the autopsy? Self-inflicted, with a suicide note confessing to embezzling from Tommy's auto shop. The threats? Code for pay us hush money or we tell. When they didn't pay up, Lydia's death became their alibi for ditching me, her love child, with some nameless John, not even theirs biologically. Wait, what? DNA said otherwise, but the twist burned. Harold had confessed to a cellmate during a '98 DUI stint. I'd gotten the transcript sealed, but not before reading it. Viv knocked up by her boss at the mill. We couldn't afford the scandal, so we said it was Lydia's kid, dumped it on the Voss's doorstep to spite M. Let M raise our mistake. Mistake.
Me.
They weren't fleeing threats. They were unloading baggage to fund a fresh start, using my aunt's grave as cover. And the kicker? That embezzlement? It was seed money for their escape, stolen from the very shop that employed Vivian. But spilling that now? Marcus warned against it. Too early, too inflammatory. Let them overplay, he said. Instead, cross-exam. Mrs. Hargrove, you say you searched for years. Can you produce one police report? One ad in the Village Voice. Vivian faltered, glancing at Langford. We were scared. The Vosses had pull. Pull enough to silence NYPD? Or just convenient for your narrative? Marcus pressed, gentle but lethal. The jury's sympathy cracked. A juror, a Latina mom like Vasquez, furrowed her brow. Day one ended with me walking out into the drizzle, paparazzi flashes popping like gunfire. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. We just want what's fair, Ellie. Family first. Vivian. I deleted it, but the seed of revenge sprouted. This wasn't just about winning, it was about exposing them, brick by rotten brick. They'd made me their scapegoat once. Now, I'd make them choke on the truth. Back in my penthouse, I poured bourbon, Maker's Mark, neat, and scrolled through the deposition files. Harold's rap sheet. Petty thefts, bar fights. Oh, 5 assault on a bookie. Vivian's? Clean, but her alibis always circled back to him. The schemer was him, flipping loyalties like a bad poker hand, confessing to cellmates for leniency, then recanting for deals. But the secret they buried deepest? The night they left me wasn't flight. It was after Lydia's funeral. They showed up drunk, demanding reparations from Tommy for her dowry. When he laughed them off, Harold swung a bottle, cracked Tommy's skull. Tommy lived, but comatose for months. No charges. Hargroves vanished, leaving me as the orphan niece Tommy's folks adopted out of pity. They pinned their violence on me, the unborn evidence of scandal, gifting me a lifetime of whispers. That poor girl, born under a bad sign. I'd borne it all. The foster shuffles, the therapy bills, the drive to prove I wasn't trash. Now, they'd resurface, not for love, but because Alarisoft's IPO hit headlines. Greed, pure and American as apple pie laced with arsenic. Sleep came fitful, dreams of courtrooms morphing into fire stations, me tiny and wailing as shadows loomed. Morning brought round 2. Harold on the stand. He lumbered up, all bluster and belly, swearing on a Bible he probably hadn't cracked since Reagan. Langford lobbed softballs. Harry, talk about the joy of fatherhood lost. We named her Hope, Harold rumbled, voice cracking for effect. Planned to buy a house in the suburbs, white picket and all. But those Voss bastards. They came at night, smashed windows, left notes. Keep the kid or else. We had no choice. The jury bought it hook, line, a retiree in bifocals, wiped his eye. But Marcus zeroed in. Mr. Hargrove, you mentioned private investigators. Names? Receipts. Harold squirmed. Cash jobs off the books. Scared of tails. Convenient. And this rival family. Any proof beyond your word? Photos, witnesses. Silence. Langford objected. Speculation. But Vasquez overruled, her gavel a warning shot. Harold deflated, mumbling about lost files in the move. The tide shifted. Whispers rippled through the gallery. Recess hit, and I slipped out for air, the courthouse lobby a zoo of lawyers hawking deals. That's when I saw him, Tommy Voss, my adoptive uncle, wheelchair-bound from that bottle swing, eyes milky from the brain damage. He wasn't supposed to testify till Friday, but he'd come early, parked by the vending machines with a nurse. Ellie, he rasped, grabbing my wrist. His grip was weak, but the plea in it? Iron. Don't let em win. But watch your back. Harold's got a temper like a lit fuse. I nodded, throat tight. Tommy had been my rock, funded my first coding class, believed in me when foster parents saw dollar signs. The Vosses weren't saints. Old money from bootlegging rumors clung like humidity. But compared to the Hargroves? Saints. Still, Tommy's warning lingered. Revenge wasn't clean, it was a blade that cuts both ways. Afternoon dragged with exhibits. My Forbes cover, Cyber Queen of Wall Street, juxtaposed against their eviction notices from a Philly row house. Langford hammered the optics, David versus Goliath, but Marcus countered with bank records. Subtle at first, small deposits into Vivian's account, timed to Alarisoft funding rounds. Coincidence, he asked the jury. Or insider tips from a loving daughter who ghosted them? They hadn't. I'd blocked every feeler since the DNA kit they sent anonymously last year. But the implication stuck. Me, the ungrateful brat. By close, I was drained, but the plan crystallized over takeout time in my office. Marcus and I mapped it, bury them in their lies, then exhume the murder attempt. Tommy's testimony would flip the script, Hargroves as aggressors, me as collateral. Controversial? Hell yes. Juries hated family violence, but painting bio parents as criminals? That split rooms. Some would see justice, others, a daughter's vendetta. Night fell heavy, city lights smearing the windows like accusation. I texted my one confidant, Lena, my COO, a sharp-as-nails Dominican from the same Bronx block. Trial's a circus. Miss you. Her reply, "Burn the tent down, chica. You've earned the matches." Little did I know, the real fire was just igniting. Week 2 dawned with the prosecution. Langford sighed. Anyway, calling character witnesses like it was open mic night at a dive bar. First up, a former neighbor from their Philly days, Mrs. Kowalski, a babushka-wrapped widow who'd chain-smoked her way through 3 husbands. "Lovely couple," she wheezed into the mic, coughing ash. "Always helping with groceries, church on Sundays. Broke my heart when they lost their wee one." Marcus crossfired. "Mrs. Kowalski, ever see police at their door? Fights? Odd visitors?" She blinked, foggy.
"Well,
Harry had a rough patch after the layoff. Yelled a bit. But who doesn't? The jury chuckled uneasily, a tension breaker that favored the Hargroves. Langford beamed, sensing blood. Next, their parish priest, Father O'Malley, silver-haired and soft-spoken, invoking God like a subpoena. Harold and Vivian are pillars. They tithed through hard times, prayed for their daughter's return every Massachusetts. Pillars of what, Father? St. Peter's or a house of cards? Marcus quipped, earning a sidebar warning from Vasquez. But the seed of doubt? Planted. O'Malley's eyes darted when pressed on Harold's temper, a parish rumor mill special about bar brawls disguised as misunderstandings. I watched from the plaintiff's table, heart pounding like a bass drop at a Jay-Z show. This was America, faith and folklore trumping facts until the facts bit back. My mind raced to the secret I'd held since 25, the letter from Tommy's PI, detailing Harold's prison stint. Not just DUI extortion. He'd shaken down ex-cons for protection in the yard, flipping on his crew for a reduced sentence. Schemer through and through, loyalty a currency he spent like loose change. Lunch recess, I cornered Marcus in the hall. "We need to accelerate Tommy. They're humanizing these frauds." He rubbed his jaw, stubble rasping. "Vasquez wants order. Push too hard. We look desperate." Desperate? I was a volcano, magma bubbling under silk. "They're stealing my life story, Marcus. Again." He softened, clapping my shoulder. "And we'll give it back, amended. Trust the process." Process. What a sterile word for the circus unfolding. Post-lunch, it was my turn, Eleanor Voss, defendant and daughter, taking the stand. The room hushed as I approached, heels clicking like countdowns. Swore the oath, sat, faced the jury. 12 strangers judging my worth. Langford open gentle, a wolf in sheep's wool. "Ms. Voss, you learned of the plaintiffs via DNA test last year." Emotions. I met his gaze, cool as a server farm.
"Shop?"
Then clarity. I'd built my life without them. Their return felt opportunistic. He pounced, projecting emails, my polite declines to meet, forwarded to tabloids. Opportunistic? Or a mother's plea ignored? Declines to a stranger demanding access. I corrected. No mommy in those lines. The jury murmured. A college kid in the box smirked. Langford pivoted. "Your adoptive family, the Vosses. Trouble history, no? Uncle Tommy's accident, the coma. You were there, weren't you? As a baby on their doorstep." Trap sprung. He was baiting the abandonment narrative, implying Voss foul play. Marcus objected, relevance, but Vasquez allowed, eyes sharp. "Briefly, counsel." I leaned in, voice steady. "I was 3 months old, Mr. Langford. Hard to recall bottle swings." Laughter rippled, defusing. But he pressed. "And your success, Alarisoft. Billions from government contracts. Ever wonder if that pull came from Voss connections? Old money. Favors?"
"Slender pure."
Alarisoft was bootstrapped on my code. Nights in libraries hacking firewalls. "My pull," I said, "comes from results. 99.9% breach prevention. Ask the Pentagon." Score 1 for me. The vet on the jury saluted subtly. But Langford wasn't done. "Your parents suffered, Ms. Voss. Evictions, health scares. A call, a check, small gestures. Yet nothing. Why the hardness?" Hardness. The word landed like a slap. Flashes. Foster mom number 4. locking me out for talking back. High school counselor calling me ungrateful for acing tests on empty stomach. I'd armored up young. Because gestures from ghosts don't build trust, I replied. They left me. I survived them. Vivian gasped theatrically from the gallery. Harold muttered curses. Vasquez rapped her gavel. Langford sat, smug. Marcus's redirect was poetry, pulling threads on my rise. Scholarship to MIT. First client, a mom-and-pop bakery I'd secured pro bono. Ms. Voss isn't hard, folks. She's resilient. Built an empire securing your data, banks, hospitals, elections. While plaintiffs... He trailed off, letting exhibits speak. Harold's unemployment stubs, Vivian's pill prescriptions for anxiety. Humanizing flipped on its head. Off the stand, I exhaled. Legs jelly. Lena met me in the bathroom, smuggling coffee. You slayed, boss. But that prick Langford? He's got dirt. Felt it. She was right. Evening news buzzed. Leaks about Voss family skeletons, Tommy's bootleg grandpa, a speakeasy bust in the 20s. Guilt by association, smearing my anchors to elevate the Hargroves. That night, alone with the skyline, I cracked the bourbon again. Revenge wasn't just court, it was personal. I'd hired a digital forensics team last month, quietly, to trace Langford's funding. Offshore wires from a Hargrove shell company, but seeded by Alarisoft stock tips? No. Stolen from my own servers? Hackers? The thought chilled. Betrayal within. Courtesy of a mole. Phone rang. Blocked caller. I answered, foolish. Harold's voice whiskey-slurred. You think you're better, girlie? We made you. Without our blood, you're nothing.
Click.
I traced it. Burner, but pinging near their motel in Midtown. Family first, Vivian had texted. Now this? The scheming escalated. Day 3. Expert witnesses. Langford's shrink testified to profound loss in the Hargroves, PTSD from abduction trauma.
Bull.
My psych eval, via Marcus, countered. Abandonment survivors like me thrived on independence, not enmeshment. Then the bombshell. Langford called Tommy early, out of sequence. Vasquez allowed, citing efficiency. Uncle rolled in, frail in his chair. Nurse adjusting his mic, Mr. Voss, Langford began. You took in Eleanor after your sister's death.
Motive.
Tommy's eyes, faded blue, locked on Harold.
Pity and spite.
These two showed up at Lydia's grave, drunk and demanding cash for ruining her. When I refused, your client here, nod to Harold, smashed a bottle over my head. Left me for dead. Gallery gasped. Jurors froze. A teacher type's jaw dropped. Harold bolted up. Lies. He slipped. Bailiff restrained him. Vasquez cleared the room for contempt. Langford spun damage control. Allegations, Your Honor. Hearsay. But the seed flowered. Doubt in the underdogs. Recess stretched. I wheeled Tommy to a side room, his hand cold on mine. Told you, kid.
Fuseli.
Who's helping them? I whispered. Langford's too good for public defenders. Tommy wheezed a laugh. Follow the money. Always does. Back in session, Marcus entered the PI transcript. Harold's cell confession. Unsealed via motion. Plaintiff admits fabrication. Child not kidnapped, but unwanted. Left to teach Voss a lesson. Langford objected. Prejudicial. But Vasquez read it silent. Face stone. Overruled. Jury, consider context. The flip. Hargroves as manipulators, me as unintended victim. Vivian wept real tears now, smearing mascara. Harold glared daggers, mouthing bitch across the aisle. Controversial? The press outside chanted. Is she hero or heartless? Evening brought escalation. A brick through my lobby window. Note attached. Blood for blood. Security swarmed. Cops called. Marcus, stay frosty. This is them unraveling. Unraveling into what? I barricaded in the penthouse, screens glowing with trial feeds. Twitter, X, whatever ablaze. Eleanor versus parents trending, camps forming. She's a monster, suing her own blood. versus abusers deserve zero. Polarized, just as I'd subconsciously plotted. But the twist nod. Was I becoming them? Scheming shadows to bury light? Sleep evaded. Dawn broke with a subpoena delivery. Langford demanding my therapy records. To prove alienation syndrome, he claimed. Invasion. I greenlit the counter. Full audit of Hargrove finances. What we found. Wires to a hacker collective in Eastern Europe. My code pilfered for their research. Betrayal squared. They'd hacked me to fund the suit. Rage boiled. Revenge phase 2. Leak it anonymously to a time stringer. By noon, headlines screamed. Parents' lawsuit funded by cyber theft? Court reconvened to chaos. Langford apoplectic, demanding mistrial. Vasquez denied, but adjourned for motions. In the elevator down, Vivian cornered me, heels wobbling. Please, Eleanor. End this. We're family.
Family.
The word tasted like bile. You made your choice at the firehouse. Live with it. Her slap stung, quick, feral. Security pulled her. I touched my cheek, red blooming. Not pain, permission. The fuse, mine now, burned hot. The mistrial motion hung like a guillotine, but Vasquez sliced it clean Thursday morning. No evidence of prejudice. Proceed. Langford paced like a caged hyena, his drawl fraying at the edges. Your Honor, this leak taints the jury pool. My clients. Plaintiffs. Vasquez corrected, ice in her tone. Who, per filings, engaged in felonious data theft. Relevant to credibility.
Boom.
The gallery buzzed, reporters typing furiously, a blogger live-tweeting from the back pew. Harold slumped, face ashen. Vivian clutched her purse like a shield.
Me?
I sat taller. The slap swelt a badge under concealer. Marcus leaned in. Now we got M. First batter, the hacker audit. Our expert, Dr. Nadia Khalil, a hijab-clad MIT prof with a black belt in ethical breaches, took the stand, her testimony a scalpel. IP traces link Hargrove devices to dark web forums. Code snippets match Alarisoft's proprietary algorithms. Stolen pre-suit, valued at $2.3 million. Langford Cross. Coincidence? Open source? Nadia smiled, serene. Proprietary seals, watermarks. Your clients downloaded via VPN from a Philly IP. Vivian Hargrove's Comcast bill confirms. Vivian whimpered. The jury's eyes hardened. A trucker in Carhartt scowled outright. Controversial undercurrent. Were the Hargroves desperate thieves or savvy schemers? Polls online split 60-40 my way, but the 40% screamed class warfare. Little guy hacking the elite. Marcus followed with Tommy's full deposition, video recorded for frailty. Grainy but gripping, the funeral melee, bottle shards glinting in headlight glow, Harold snarl. You'll pay for her debts. Coma details, 6 months rehab, lost job. They didn't just abandon Eleanor, Tommy croaked. They weaponized her. Left her on our stoop like a bomb. Langford shredded it. One man's grudge. But the damage stuck. Jurors avoided Hargrove eyes. Whispers of thugs floating. Recess. Chaos. Cops hauled a protester, pro-Hargrove sign. Blood bucks from the steps. Inside, I fielded Lena's call. Boards jittery. Stock dipped 3%. Frame this as your strength. Whistleblower grit.
Grit. Yeah.
Afternoon. Rebuttals. Vivian recalled, crumbling under Marcus. The hack? Harry's idea. Research for the case. We were broke. Broke enough for Langford's $500,000 retainer? Marcus volleyed. Flashing Cayman wires. Or did research mean resale? Your eBay account sold Alara code to overseas buyers. Vivian folded, sobbing. We just wanted our girl back. Back. They'd pawn me for freedom. The jury's sympathy evaporated. A single mom juror rolled her eyes. Harold's turn. Defiant. Blustering. I protected my family. Vosses were crooks, bootleggers like Tommy said. Marcus pounced. Protected? By cracking skulls? By ditching a baby? Harold lunged across the bar, veins bulging. You little. Bailiff tossed him mid-snarl. Zap. Thud. Court erupted. Vasquez cleared, citing mistrial risk. But the video? Gold. Evening News looped it. Biodad's meltdown in billionaire baby battle. I retreated to the penthouse, adrenaline crashing. Bourbon called, but I poured water, clarity now. The revenge arc peaked. Expose, eviscerate, but at what cost? Tommy texted, proud kid. But end it merciful. Hate eats the hater. Mercy? After the slap, the hacks, the lies? Sleep brought nightmares, Mia's baby. Box igniting, Hargroves laughing from shadows. Friday. Closing arguments. Langford first. Ragged but rallying. This is America, second chances, family ties. Eleanor Voss owes her spark to Harold and Vivian's blood. Deny them, deny your own roots. He tugged heartstrings, flashing baby pics, eviction tears. Jury wavered, a few nods. Marcus countered, thunderous. Roots? They pruned her like a weed. Stole her code, her story, her peace. This isn't reunion, it's ransom. Eleanor Voss didn't just survive, she fortified a nation. Don't let fraud fortify their lie. Vasquez's instructions. 2 days deliberation. We adjourned to hellish wait. Press swarmed. Will she pay or slay? Quand dipende féministe pas d'elle de me à venger, trad conforme de cri d'ingrat orphan. Weekend blurred. Board meetings, therapy Zoom, ironic. Lena's pep talk over dim sum. You're not them, Ellie. You're you, flawed, fierce.
Flawed.
The mirror showed it. Cheek bruise fading, but eyes haunted. I'd borne their crime. Tommy's ruined my isolation for 35 years. Now, payback's theater. Monday, verdict pinged at 2 p.m. Court packed, standing room only, air thick as fog. Jury filed in, foreman a stoic Korean vet, envelope in hand. Vasquez. On the claim of restitution? Foreman. We fined for the defendant, Eleanor Voss.
No liability. Kers erupted, mine silent, fist clenked.
But wait. Langford's counterclaim? Fraud. Dismissed. But damages? Further, on plaintiff's data theft. Liable. Award to defendant. $15 million, plus injunction. $15 mil. Pennies to me, but symbolic shank. Hargroves deflated. Harold cursed, cuffed for the courtroom fracas, pending charges. Vivian wailed, reaching for me. Eleanor. Security blocked. I turned away. Victory?
Pyrrhic.
Reporters mobbed. Regrets? Reunion? Justice. I said, voice steel. Not revenge. But in the limo home, tears came. Not joy, catharsis. The secret unburied, sins repaid. Or so I thought. The gavel's echo faded, but the fallout roared like a nor'easter. By Tuesday, headlines crown me. Cyber Queen crushes bio parents' grift. Alarisov stock rebounded 7%. Board sent champagne. Lena threw an impromptu rooftop bash. Tacos from a truck, skyline toasts. To Ellie, unbreakable code. I clinked, smiling for the crew. Devs in hoodies, execs in loafers, but inside?
Hollow.
Tommy called from rehab. You did good, kid. Come visit, tell me the war stories.
Va. Yeah.
I drove upstate that weekend, winding through Adirondack, leaves turning bloody red. Tommy's bungalow smelled of pine and Bengai. He grinned from his recliner, scars like road maps on his scalp. Heard Harold's rotting in Rikers, assault on a Fed ain't slap on wrist. Good, I said, but it tasted ash. We talked hours. Lydia's wild youth, the Voss bootleg lore, mostly myth, he swore. My empire. You born enough, he said, squeezing my hand. Let it go. Let go? Easier preached. Back in the city, the twist uncoiled. A certified letter from Langford's firm. Post-verdict. Settlement offer. Drop charges. We reveal truth. Truth? My blood chilled. I met him in a midtown Starbucks. Neutral ground, irony, coffee chains birthing betrayals. Langford, tie loose, sipped latte like poison. Your win's hollow, Voss. Vivian's got cancer, stage 3. Harold's crumbling. But the real hook? That DNA. I leaned in. Spit it. He slid a folder. Lab report. My sample versus Hargrove's. Match. 99.8%. But dig deeper. Harold's confession? Half-truth. You're his. Vivian's? Not biologically. She carried you. Sure. IVF black market. 90s desperation. Boss's kid? Lied to cover donor sperm from Tommy Voss.
Tommy?
My adoptive uncle? The room spun. Bullshit. Tested against his records. Post-coma blood work. 50% match. He was the donor, anonymous. Lydia knew, begged him for it, after her fling flopped. Hargrove stole the sample, implanted via quack doc, then dumped you on us when the bill came. Revenge on Lydia's sister-stealer, brother. Pieces slammed. The love child, myth, the doorstep spite. Tommy, unwitting father, bio, not adoptive. I'd borne his secret too, gifting life then violence. Langford smirked. Twist enough? Vivian's dying wish. Meet her kids. Drop the theft charges. $15 mil covers chemo. Mercy or manipulation. Controversial to the core, I daughter twice over, holding grudges that chained us all.
Demi-es accident?
Not just rage, jealousy, perhaps, over the donor dead unspoken. I left without signing, folder burning in my bag. Drove to Riker's, visitor's booth like a confessional. Harold, orange jumpsuit, sneered through plexi.
Come glot.
Truth, I said. All of it. He deflated, eyes wet. We were broke, desperate. Tommy's seed, Viv's idea, family help. But he denied, said Lydia's ghost demanded it. We flipped, made you our weapon against him. Then the bottle. Regret, every day. Regret. First reel from him. And now. He shrugged. Jail's karma. But Viv. She's got months. See her? I nodded, numb. Vivian's hospice room reeked of antiseptic and regret. Tubes snaking, her once red lips pale. Eleanor, she whispered, hand frail. Forgive? We were monsters, but loved you. In our way.
Way?
Twisted, toxic. But cancer stripped pretense. Her eyes held no scheme. Just surrender. Why sue? Weakness, she admitted. Cancer bills. Saw your face, saw hope. Greed won. I sat hours, stories spilling. Her mill shifts, his car lot scams, the firehouse kiss goodbye. Humanized at last, not saints, but survivors like me. Twists debate. Was mercy weakness, or the ultimate revenge, denying them hate's fuel? I dropped charges that night. $15 mil waived, but restitution rerouted to her care. Langford got a bonus. Tommy, a visit. You knew? I asked, confronting him over diner pie. Guessed, he rasped. Donor clinics leak. But you were gift, not curse. Raised you right.
Gift.
The word stuck. Ending?
Nota idibao.
Harold plea bargained to 5 years. Vivian lasted 6 months. Funeral sparse. I attended. Anonymous in black. Alarasoft boomed, but I stepped back, funding orphan tech startups. Revenge? Served cold, then thawed. Polarizing still. Forums raged, she caved. Versus grace in the grind.
Me?
I walk Central Park paths now. Polaroids ashes long scattered, but echoes linger.
Abandoned, sued, rede emet?
In America's gray grind, no one's all right or wrong. Just human flawed code in a vast machine. And that's the savage truth. Epilogue whisper. Tommy's last words, before his own fade. Family ain't blood, Ellie. It's choice. I choose forward, hacked scars and all.